Live.
All right. Hello, everybody. We are so excited to join you again. I am Marie Green from Olive Knits, and this is Libby Johnson from Truly Myrtle. And together we created Pacifico Knits, which is a celebration of friendship and joy and really embracing the creative process. And today we are just having an informal chat. We're inviting you along to join us as we talk about creative rituals. Creative rituals. So we'll talk about what those are for us and just throw in some questions and some thoughts about what that looks like in a creative life, and maybe leave you feeling a little inspired, we hope. But let's get right to it. Libby, do you have any
Hi.
creative rituals? And actually, what does that mean to you?
Creative Rituals. Hi, everyone. It is so nice to be back. I just want to say one thing before we launch in that I forgot that last time we had a few technical issues, and I hope you stumbled through those okay. But we're working it out. And look, we're actually more or less the same size now, so that's the first thing we're trying, aren't we? We're trying to get our sort of background. So if we have, do you just if you can just bear with us, that would be amazing. I feel like I have a little delay today, so hopefully my internet isn't too bad. Creative rituals. Yeah.
I think we do.
We have a little delay, don't we, between us?
It's all good.
It's all good. Okay. Creative rituals. So for me, I think it just means they sort of feel a little bit special to me. So they're the little parts of my day where I think what I try and do is hang my day around the things that I'm making, because I feel like I have, my dream is to have a really creative life. I feel like I do have a fairly creative life, and I think the rituals are things that they're sort of like little habits, aren't they? Things I do, like I don't sit down in front of the TV unless I've got my knitting. It just feels wrong. I've been doing it for so long, and there comes a point in the day where I just think, I just need to feel some knitting in my hands, or I need to, I don't know, make myself a lovely lunch, or lots of little creative habits that I try and weave into my day, because I think that is what makes my day mine. You know what I mean? What does creative
Absolutely.
ritual feel like for you? What does it mean for you?
When I hear the word ritual, I think something sacred, and certainly as a creative person, and I think you'd agree, like I really guard that creative time. And but I think a lot of the rituals that I've developed around creativity have kind of just happened really organically, because it's just part of the creative day. And like you said, never sitting down to TV without knitting. In fact, I never leave the house without knitting. I have this belief that I'm at some point in my life going to be trapped in an elevator. I don't know why I think that. And like I need to have knitting with me just in case. But that is part of that ritual of just even leaving the house is always packing my knitting. And but I think it goes even beyond that. Like you said, just the beautiful presentation of your lunch, or making a cup of tea, or having that little favorite spot on the patio where you just like to sit, and you have your chair just so, and the place to prop your feet, and you've got a good view of the sunset or something, or that little spot. I think a lot of us have a spot that we really like to go to when we're being creative, or when we like to knit. And so for me, creative rituals have a lot to do with how I work creativity into my life, like how I make it a part of my routine and a part of my process, but also get to feel kind of special. You know what I mean?
I do, yeah. And it's funny that you talk about a spot, because they definitely grow organically, don't they? Those little spots, and you sort of and they change too, I think, depending on the time of year and where you're at. So I have, for the longest time, my bed has been a fairly good creative spot for me. So I really like to knit in bed. It just feels so decadent to be able to sit in bed and have a cup of tea, especially in the morning, and just have a little knit. And I have this thing when I wake up, I like the curtains to be flung open so I can see the day. What kind of day is it out there today? I like to be able to see the day, and then just have a little bit of a knit. Even if I can't be there for long, just have a little knit. And I don't do it every day, but I really, really enjoy the days that I do. It's really nice, isn't it?
That sounds so nice. And I think kind of along that same idea is giving ourselves time to work on that creative thing without other distractions, even if it's just a little bit of time, because we have so often this, like our phone is in our hand and we're checking things and we're, answering messages and we're getting up and down and doing things. And sometimes it's nice to just say, I'm going to knit for 30 minutes. I'm not going to check my phone. I'm just going to really be. I'm just going to let myself feel the stitches. I'm going to let myself feel the process. And it kind of allows you to go into that little space, almost like that timeless space where you aren't watching the clock and just really feeling the joy of it. I mean, truth be told, I don't get to do that very often, but when I do, it's so satisfying.
Yeah. Do you find, speaking of phones though, do you feel like I have definitely have to consciously think, not going to look at my phone, or put my phone somewhere else, or so I won't sleep with it next to the bed, because how much of that precious time where we could be making the thing we want to make, or finishing, or just enjoying the moment, how much time are we wasting looking at our phones? I am so guilty of that, and I've just finding I've got to say to myself, okay, I'm not going to do that, because otherwise I'm losing those little creative rituals. I think I'm losing it down my screen, and that's not very good, is it?
No, I think so too. And I think that's part of consciously deciding to make space in our lives for creativity, because it's so easy for that time to get used for other things. And then later we're thinking, I really didn't need to watch 30 minutes of funny cat videos just now or something random, that you just kind of fall into this rabbit hole and you're like, I've been on Pinterest for 45 minutes. Oh my gosh, I could be actually making something right now instead of looking at pictures of things other people made,
Yeah, that's so true. I think that is so true.
So do you feel like if you have a day, do you ever have a day without creativity? Do you feel like it's an integral part of your day?
I think it is me. I think it's just such a huge part of my day. So whether it's, from a little girl, I used to take great pleasure in arranging my dressing table. I used to take everything off and dust it down, and I'm a great collector of tiny things, and the people that watch my broadcast regularly will see that behind me you can't see it on this one, but I have tiny things, and my husband knows that I love tiny things, so I have things like these little sheep. They're just so cute. So I used to have that when I was a little girl on my dressing table, and I used to dust everything and put it back. And so although I was tidying, it was a huge creative ritual actually, to just organize things, and I still do that in my house. My house is not a show home. It is not spotlessly tidy at all, but I do have little corners that I really enjoy, and I think even if I can just do those, I've got plants that I water or flowers to go in a vase, so I think I do incorporate that creative vibe into much of my life, because I think it's just such an integral part of me, to do that.
Yeah, I feel the same way. Definitely having the spaces and the little things. I'm a plant person for sure. And so having my plants, and they all have names, and that's like part of my ritual of the day, is making sure my plants are attended to. And, things like books and bookshelves, and kind of reorganizing them, and, just setting them up with all the pretty little pottery and all the things. It is nice to have a beautiful space, whatever that means. It doesn't have to be fancy or expensive or a show house, but just having like those little corners, that feel like your little sanctuary, like your little creative spot.
I find in my little office where I work, I have some shelving next to me where on both sides of me actually, but I store a lot of my design stash there. So I often will pull all of that yarn out and I'll rearrange that. And that's hugely creative for me, both to sort of check in with what I've got and have a squish of things and see what colours are leaping out to me and how I want to rearrange it when I put it back again. And then I can sit there and I can really enjoy just the yarn for art's sake, just for creativity's sake. So I think there's so many ways we can bring these little creative aspects to our life. It just, to me it makes it richer, and it doesn't have to be costly, like you say, and it doesn't have to be stylish. It doesn't have to be the latest trend, whatever that is. It just is something, I think, if it feels satisfying, somehow just deeply nourishing, I think that's it, isn't it? I think that perhaps is, for me, that's the essence of a creative ritual. It's nourishing, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. And I agree about having yarn out because I, I'm always torn between wanting it to be safe and not get, you know, a, be out where it could get a moth or, too much sunlight or dust or whatever. But at the same time, like I need it out there as part of my creative experience. And I also find, because I'm also a writer, like I have read a lot about like other writers' rituals.
Oh, yeah.
And they will talk about, they have that space where they go to write, and then they do, especially for writers, they'll often like have a specific time of day where they sit down and they're like, this is my writing time. And their brain goes into writing mode because they've created a system, like a habit of that, a ritual.
Yeah.
And I feel very similar about the creative spaces that we make, because I go to my spot, I have my beautiful yarns and the textures, and I have my little cork board with ideas and swatches and things. And then it's like my brain knows, okay, this is what we're doing. This is creative time. And so it's really easy to get into that zone because I've sort of trained myself to know when I'm here, this is time for creative flow. And so it helps me get into that zone a little more easily. Do you find that too?
Yes, that really rings true for me. And I think that's perhaps as well why certain spots resonate too. It's because you sit down and this is time for this to happen. Have you read the book Bird by Bird by Anne Sinnott?
Yes.
Yeah, it's
Anne Lamott.
Anne Lamott. Yeah, it's such a good book, isn't it? And to me, that
is it Anne Lamott or is it
Anne Sinnott or Anne?
It might not be Anne Lamott.
It's definitely Anne someone, but Bird by Bird. It's one of those.
Anne something. Yes.
It's definitely Anne. Yeah, I read that. It's just a little thin book, isn't it? But she's a writer, but she talks about that, doesn't she? She talks about just sort of turning up, and then the creativity will happen. And I feel like that's the same kind of thing. If you make space for it, it will happen. And I think that's true of ideas and of actually getting stuff done. And you make the kind of non-negotiable little moments, and then whoosh, everything kind of sweaters grow, shawls get made. You've actually, things happen and creativity blossoms, I think.
It does. And I've heard people say, oh, I don't have time. I would love to learn to knit, but I don't have time. And I think, we can actually make time for whatever it is we want to do. Stephen Pressfield has a book called The War of Art.
Oh, yes.
And in that, he also talks about, have you read that one? It talks about, showing up every day and just doing the work. And I don't think you have to be in a creative business to make that true. I think it's just, if you want to make space in your life for something, you just make a decision that you're going to make space, and you find a way. And it may not be a lot of space, but you can always find a little bit of it in there. And in fact, now that I'm saying this, I'm like, I remember talking about this on my audio podcast about, just carving out that space. Like, you're just going to find the space for it and do it.
And it might take a while to practice, I think.
So do you?
Yeah, just to sort of have a feel for it. Yeah, absolutely. And some days you might get to the end and think, I really didn't have any time today. What can I do tomorrow? Where could I maybe fit it in without getting up, too early in the morning or staying up too late at night? And just, could I instead of looking at my phone, could I maybe just take that 20 minutes to just do one tiny thing, one bite-sized creative thing? I think it is funny, isn't it, then, creative rituals? So we do have to, some of them organically grow, and others we really have to consciously create, I think, don't we?
Yeah, I almost wonder if as the organic ones take hold, you start to realize, this is very nourishing. It's very fulfilling. I need more of this. And so you start to create those other intentional spaces. And I was thinking too recently about things that have really helped, like, to support that creative experience for me. And sometimes it's having little tools. So you probably have some tools. I happened to grab this right before we hopped on, but nice little notebooks. And I know you and I share a love for notebooks.
Oh, yes.
Are both a little bit out of control with our notebook love. But like a pretty notebook and a really nice fine point pen. I just found this one, and it's like this little Japanese hebe. I don't know, but it's the finest point pen I've ever seen in my life. And I will tell you what, I'm sure magic's going to happen from the tip of this pen because it's so nice to write with. And I just like those little bitty things, just to have a nice pen and a nice little notebook to write my ideas, or, just as part of that, like I know that when I get to my creative spot and I get my little notebook and I get my little pen or I get my knitting and those little things that kind of support the creative experience. Do you have a little
I'm
like
sitting
special
here.
creative idea notebook that you
I'm
use as
actually
well?
sitting here because before I called you, I had my and you and I have talked about this. I have this ridiculously expensive planner, which I'm actually loving. This is not an ad. But this planner, the full focus
Right,
planner.
I know, no ads.
It's not an ad, but I'm just
it.
trying it for the first time because I have found that other calendars, planners, diaries just haven't been like gutsy enough for me. They haven't had enough room in them for me to really stretch my muscles. And I'm trying this and I'm really enjoying it. One of the things I love about it is it has reasonably thick pages. The pages they're not too fine, but I have stolen this pen that one of the kids gave my husband for Christmas, and it's a really cheap pen, but I'm absolutely loving it. And it's one of those gel pens. It's actually got quite a thick tip. I was thinking of your thin tip. It is. I do love a thin tip, but this is one of those really oozy, liquid pens. I am so enjoying writing with that pen. It is so nice, and it's just I think I can grab them for really cheap. Yeah, it makes such a difference to me.
A pen makes a difference.
Yeah, it does.
Nice paper, nice, and it's a little splurge. Like you don't have to spend a lot to get a notebook.
No,
or get a pen, but it's just to have that little thing.
Yeah,
you can jot down your ideas. That can become part of that creative ritual.
It definitely is for me. I like the idea I can think about what I want to do the next day and I can write it down, or I can get to the end of the week and I can think, okay, what did I manage to get done? What have I got to do? How do I feel? I like all that. I like doing that. It's it's really nice to to just be conscious, just be thinking about what I'm doing and actually write it down. I do like that. Yeah. Another creative ritual.
I do too.
Yeah.
Exactly. Another thing that I've just really started noticing in the last probably 6 months is that movement is like actually getting outside, getting fresh air and walking, whether I'm in a scenic area or not. It's especially nice if you're in a scenic area, but just getting out and walking is turning out to be really good for the creative juices. And I'm developing that into my ritual. And I've been talking to my knitting community about that, because I know as knitters, we have a tendency to be pretty sedentary because who wants to get up from their knitting? Yeah. Not me. But I've also found, like, as I'm going throughout my day, you can start to feel a little fuzzy, you know? And so I'm making a conscious effort to drink more water as part of that ritual, and then also to get up, go outside and walk around for 30 minutes and then come back to it, because I feel like the ideas, there's something about motion that helps my ideas kind of move forward too. Do you find that?
I really do. And I love walking. It's one of my favorite things to do, and I don't do it as much as I used to do it, and probably should do it. But the thing I find that absolutely, if I'm in a funk about something, or if I'm just can't quite get my head around an idea, or if I've got to think of something quickly, when I'm driving, my head is flooded with the ideas. And so for me, I think it's not just about movement, but it's something about quite fast forward propelling. I can guarantee now that I just get in the car, I can just not have any noise, no podcasts or anything, music's okay, and all of a sudden I'm having these visions of, I could do that and I could do that, and that's the answer to that problem. It's amazing. I'm not an in the shower thinker, but I'm definitely a behind the wheel of my car. So I should probably drive more.
Same here, behind the wheel.
Yeah.
Or in a flight. I fly a lot, and like when I'm driving, I don't listen to anything either. I drive in silence. I usually am by myself, so no one has to know. So when I'm in a car with other people and there's talking, it's like so distracting. So I'm used to just sitting quietly in a car alone, and then I just think. Yeah. And you're right. There's something about that really, I feel like I solve all the problems of the world when I'm behind a wheel or I'm on a plane, and there's really no, like, the distractions are so much less. You're not looking at your phone. You're not getting, pinged with notifications. So you're just sort of in the zone. Yeah. And a lot of good ideas come from there. Yeah, actually.
For me too. It's something for me, the faster I seem to be going, like on the motorway, if I sit on the motorway or the freeway, I just, I have all these ideas. It's really amazing. So there's definitely, I can rely on it, so much so that I can actually rely on it. I can think, I'm stuck on that. I'm not going to think about it now, because I know the next time I might get in my car,
Right.
I'll probably have the answer. It's really good. It's a really good little.
It is. I love that. And it's good because you feel like you just know what your process is.
Yeah.
You know, I'll come up with a solution. I'll come up with a solution as I'm at that next phase, and I don't have to decide right now, which is really good. Do you ever feel like you're like the tendency to compare what other people, because I think with social media, it's really easy to see what we think creative ritual looks like, or like a creative space looks like. And I think it's easy to be like, oh gosh, mine is just this, kind of cluttered creative space with baskets of overflowing things and papers and too many pens and too many notebooks and all of that. And I think it's easy to feel a sense of comparison, like, maybe mine should look more like that, or maybe that's what creative people's space is like. And actually, I find most creative people, there's a lot of stuff that you're not seeing in that photo, because creative people have a lot of creative things happening all at once generally. But do you ever feel like a sense of comparison, or like maybe I'm not doing this right?
Yeah, so I had a funny experience when most of my life I had no social media, like you, and
Same.
I never suffered from a sense of comparison generally in life. I would go to someone's beautiful house and I would come home and feel so inspired to clean mine. And I would see someone's fantastic outfit and I would be so inspired to make one, or make myself some clothes, or someone would look amazing and I would think, I'm going to do some exercise. I would just feel really inspired, but I wouldn't feel in any sort of comparison. I wouldn't feel in any way inferior. I definitely, with the advent of social media in my life, I really started to notice those feelings. Because it's this bombard. I wasn't used to having other people's noise in my life all the time, and to be exposed to what everyone was doing. And I knew that I know that when I'm in the middle of a creative process, it's a shambles around me. It's an absolute shambles. I'm not someone that keeps things tidy as I'm making. I just seem to, I will put things down. I don't know where they are. I just create an absolute mess. But I never thought about what anyone else did. And then all of a sudden you're presented with these beautiful images of all this beautiful stuff. And it's like this corner in my house is not indicative of the rest of my house. And I really found it really hard, actually. I didn't like it at all, and I didn't think it did me any favors. So I just try not to look now. I just really try not to look. And actually, I had someone send me an email the other day, and she said that she had found the same thing. And because I was wondering if it was because I was a business owner and I was always feeling like I was behind, or I wasn't working fast enough, or I didn't make nice enough things, or there was always that question of doubt in my mind. And I thought, is it because I'm now running a business? Is this what it is? But I don't think it is. And someone wrote me an email the other day, and she said that here we are in end of February. Well, it's actually first day of March here today, but and she said, already I'm seeing on social media, people have finished 2 and 3 projects for the year. I am feeling so inadequate because I haven't even finished one, and I just can't look at it anymore. And they seem to have so much money and so much time, and I don't. And I thought, it's not just me. It's not just me that's getting affected by this. It's lots of us, isn't it? And I don't quite know what the answer is, because I think also it comes with huge inspiration, being able to tap into what other people are doing. Lovely community. But for me personally, I don't know. I think I just stick to my tribe a little bit. Just my own, I don't know. I just have to not look too far. I really can't have a kind of a constant stream coming into my life. It's just too much for me.
Yeah, I agree with you on that. And I think one of the things that has been beneficial to me is I am one of those people who doesn't suspend my disbelief very easily. So like, I'll see beautiful images and I know around that is a mess. Like, I just know. I know that what it's like when you're trying to get the perfect picture. And having done 2 books and some of the photo shoots that we did, I was standing in a stairwell, and there was of like out by the in Oregon by the coast, and it was this perfect concrete backdrop, but there was garbage all over the ground underneath me, and I'm like standing in garbage basically with my back up against, and the photo looked great, but I know when I see the photo like that I was standing in garbage. And so I think because of just the experience that I've had running a business and doing, getting the photos right, and you know what that's like too, where you're teetering, holding your breath, you've got lipstick on your teeth, like all the things, but you get the shot. And it's this sense of what it takes to present the look that you're going for, but like that the truth under that is so much more real and messy. And I firmly believe like this is everybody poops. Everybody, like
they do.
We are just all people. Like everybody's got their messy spots, their junk drawer. Maybe somebody doesn't have a junk drawer, but if it, I don't know those people. No. Everybody's got something, and so I agree with you, because it doesn't feel good to look at just a constant wave of inspiration that makes you feel inadequate, because it's super easy if you're bombarded with that too much. But I try to not spend a lot of time in there. And then also, if I do, I just realize it probably took 48 photos to get that one amazing shot. And the reality is that none of our lives look like that regularly. So it's great to draw out the inspiration from it, because of course we want to see beautiful things. That is very inspiring, but also just kind of balancing that with the reality that is, 4 seconds before we got on this video, I spilled my coffee everywhere, and it's still sticky on the table right in front of me. I'll get that when we're done. Like, that's the reality.
My computer is resting on the ironing board. So, there we go. There's just, I agree that I get it that everybody has, it's real life. Everyone has real life. And I definitely know because so many people say to me, oh, but you have and so of course it's easy for you, and I think, oh my gosh, I know that you're seeing the tip of an iceberg, and so I just know that, except I really find it hard to remember. So unlike you, I do find it harder to remember that when I'm seeing other stuff, a lot of other stuff, over and over and over and over. I think I'm okay with a little bit, but it is funny, and it is funny. So I think that I just have to be careful of where I find my inspiration, I think, and thinking about it and remembering to just turn the noise down sometimes so that I can hear myself think in amongst it all.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, to be honest, I don't look at what other people are doing. Like, and I just found over the years that it feels distracting.
Yeah.
It feels like noise. And I just want to be in the zone of what my inspiration is and what I'm feeling. And so I'm often looking in strange places. Like I'll be, at airports and just people watching and seeing things that people are wearing, or seeing patterns in floors. And I mean, and I think you do the same, trying to just look in the outside world and the world around me, rather than looking at these tailored, crafted things. That, not to say that that's not beautiful and inspiring. It's just, I don't spend a lot of time on that because it's like you said, it's just, it doesn't necessarily support the direction that we're trying, what we're trying to do by really connecting with our own.
That's the point, I think, as well, because I stop remembering what I like anymore, and I stop being able to, and so I think, oh, that's nice, and that's nice, oh, that's gorgeous, oh, that's fantastic, and then I think, oh, I'd never wear that. What am I even thinking? I'd never wear that. It looks, and I might be tempted even to make it or to try something similar, and then I think, what am I doing? This is not me. This is crazy. I can see it's beautiful, but it's so not me. This is, and so I find when I can just have other inspiration and let that, be a little freer about where I get my inspiration from, and not look at other knitwear designers, for example. Just can't look. And then I feel then you're getting, I think then my customers are actually getting a better product out of me too, because I think they're getting more of
Absolutely.
my design aesthetic, which is what they want. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. I think that allows us to bring that to our audience. And we talked about last week when we did this, that, as we have these separate design styles, and then we came together to work on Pacifico, and we were like, do we merge into one, morphed person, or do we bring our own things? And I think it's really cool that we were able to just bring who we are into our collaboration as friends, and then just explore that and see if that still felt cohesive. And it seems like, actually, I think it's working out really well. And it's fun to have the balance of a lot of similar but differences, and kind of see both of our personalities shine through in the collection. And certainly in the new collection that we're working on, we're definitely seeing, I think we're shining through even more in the pieces that we're creating this time, which is really exciting.
Yeah, I think so. And do you think it helps? Because now you say that, I think it helps when I know the person. And so I do have a handful of friends who are designing knitwear or sewing patterns, and if I know them, I just feel, or even my customers who are making my stuff, I feel like I know them. And so when I know someone, it takes all of that comparison out of the picture, and all I do is feel excited for them or pleased for them, and I don't. It's funny, isn't it? So it could be a sense of the world gets too big for me and I can't know all the people. Maybe if I knew, I don't know, it makes a difference for me when I feel I have a relationship with someone. Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah, it's been really fun as our friendship has grown over the years to get to cheer for each other and watch each other's businesses grow, and to be able to see the success for the other person and be so encouraged by that, and just a sense that there's an abundant world around us. And there's I love having a friendship that we can celebrate that, because I think that's really important. And I think it's the right, I hate to say the right way to go, but it feels right to me. It feels like that's the way, that's the way that everybody gets to succeed and win, is when we can, support and be thrilled for each other's success. And it's not like just about the one person, but it's about kind of, I don't know, like,
it's
whether
a balance,
the
isn't
fact
it?
that, it's a balance. Yeah, absolutely. So one thing I was thinking of talking about, because I think I see this come up a lot for people, just and it's definitely come up for me before. I don't know if it's come up for you, but do you ever have a sense of maybe feeling a little bit guilty for taking time for yourself, or maybe investing in creative things for yourself? I'll say to my end, I don't feel guilty anymore, but there were times where I thought, maybe I should be scrubbing the bathroom right now, but instead I'm going to knit, or just little things like that, where I would think, maybe I should be doing, something else. But I just really feel like I need this time. So I would give it to myself. And over time, I learned to just give myself permission. Like, I have permission to do, this is what I need. This is part of me being a happy, well-rounded person. Did you ever experience that at all?
I've never experienced it when it comes to time. When it comes to making time for my creative life. And I think that's because I grew up with a mother who took time for her creative life. And because it was such an integral part of our childhood growing up, that our mum would sit in bed and knit, or she would sew into the night time, or whatever, that I grew up with that. And my expectation was that was what you did. You made things, and that's just what you did. And the other thing was that I would often, when my kids were little, be making things for them. And so I never felt any sense of guilt. And then occasionally, more than occasionally, I would make stuff for myself. So I haven't had any sense of time guilt. But, and there were days when I would say, sorry, we're having can someone poach some eggs and put some baked beans and bacon on, because we haven't got dinner. Like, that would happen, but I would not feel guilty about that. It was quite bizarre.
Good.
But I did feel that I couldn't spend a lot of money on myself. when it
There
came
you
to
go.
my
Yeah.
crafts. And so I was careful about what I spent, partly because we were when my kids were small, I stayed at home and we were a single income family. And I was very conscious of, I ran the budget and I was really conscious of where our money went and I had to make it stretch. So I didn't tend to spend a lot on myself anyway. And my husband didn't spend a lot on himself. And so I didn't feel I could indulge in that. And if I did, I felt, what? I'm not sure. If I bought things like yarn to make the kids something, I wouldn't feel guilty about that. But if it was yarn for me, that would be sometimes a bit of a stretch. So there was definitely that. I did lots of upcycling. I did lots of buying things from op shops and cutting it up and sewing it together, or dolls out of old jumpers or whatever it was I did. I did a lot of that, but I really didn't spend much money on myself or my tools. I would, I'd get a sewing machine for my birthday, or that happened a few times. Things like that. That's how I managed to, I think, invest. Not to say I spent nothing, but I wouldn't splurge. I didn't tend to splurge.
Right.
It's totally different now. I do feel entirely justified to spend, partly because I'm contributing financially. Our life is so different when I'm working.
Exactly.
And it's kind of crazy, except that I guess we're not trying to make it work on one income anymore either. So lots of things have changed for us. Our kids are that much older. They don't necessarily want all the things I want to make for them. So I make them for myself, and I make them through my business. So it's interesting. It's interesting, the issue of guilt.
As you were talking, I was thinking, I realized if you would have just asked me before me thinking about it, I would have said I felt the same way. And then I realized, wait, actually, no, I didn't ever have guilt, even though we were on a tight budget and I couldn't spend much on, we were a single income family, 3 small kids for a long time. And we just didn't have the money for things, but I was thrifty. I, would get secondhand. I mean, people would give me things. I was really resourceful, but I didn't feel guilty because I think about buying yarn or something or fabric, or because I always felt like I'm going to, multiply the value of this. I'm going to make something as a gift, or I'm going to make something for my child, but I felt guilty about the time, which is interesting because I have a tendency, and you know me, I am piling in so much stuff into every day. I'm out of control, and I'm really trying to work on it. But I get this time famine thing. You've been a good inspiration for me, actually, to help me calm down a little bit. But I'm always trying to do too many things, and so it's like, I need this time to knit, but I also need this time to do this other thing, and I'm on this committee, and I'm supposed to be doing this. And so that's where I really run into trouble. But I think there's always something that maybe we mentally have to wrestle with as we're figuring out how to find a place in our life for creativity and create creative rituals that work for our lifestyle and our home and our family and our situation and our budget. But there's probably something that that the people following us can relate to, who can say, yeah, maybe it's not that or that, but there's something that we just have to come to terms with or accept about the process, I think.
I think so. And it's funny that you say I've been an inspiration for you, because you have done exactly the same for me. Do you know how many courses I've bought since I've met you, and how many magazines I've subscribed to? How many notebooks I've bought? It's been so good for me to just invest in myself. I've done far more of that since I've met you than I did before. I try and bootstrap things, and I try and make it work and use what I had, and and I've just felt much less scarcity around that idea and of spending money on myself. Isn't that funny? I hadn't thought about that before.
Well, this is just the things that come out when we have public conversations. Apparently. Isn't that funny?
Yeah, that is.
Oh my gosh. I really wonder what, whether or not creative rituals are something that, and I would love, for anyone who's watching to comment about, if you have creative rituals in your life, and if you don't, like, what kind of creative rituals would you want to create, and what tools help lend to that? Because I think as knitters, some of that is also the right project bag, the needles that feel good in our hands, the the yarn bowl, or the just all those little things, and they don't have to be expensive. It might be the bag that your best friend sewed for you, and it just carries special meaning, and it's part of that creative ritual. It's fun to think about what that is like for other people, because I think we're all so different, but we have those little things that really spark the creative process for us.
Yeah, I think that's really true, and that doesn't have to be. We're told to sort of shun consumerism and materialism, but we don't have to 100% do that. I think we can. There are certainly, if we've got, it's really, I like having some treasures in my life. I like having my little ornaments that I enjoy, beautiful project bag, and really enjoying a skein of yarn. I do have my favourite needles, my notions pouch that are everything in it. I know I've selected and it's useful, and my favourite stitch markers. Just those things do make the whole experience really, really pleasurable, I think. And I don't know, I think about my grandmothers, and one in particular, who, everything was very deliberate. So they would, one of my grandmothers, I have this memory of her sitting down at the table and having an egg in an egg cup with a slice of toast and a cup of tea out of a beautiful little thing, and an apple sliced up, and then she would move to the next activity, and it would be, everything's deliberate. I think bringing some of that deliberate, into our making, I think there's something to be gained from that. I've probably wafted off. What I'm going to do is I'm going to check.
I love that.
Yeah, I'm going to check to see if anyone's watching. Sorry.
Okay.
I'm going to see if we've got any comments. And I just thought if we have a look and see.
Deliberate makes me think of intentional.
Yeah. Yeah.
Sorry, our delay is tricky.
I know, because we just talk 10 to the dozen over each other all the time. I'm going to check and see if we've got any comments, if anyone's watching, and then we can answer those before we wrap up, okay? So I'll just see. We've got a couple of people watching on Facebook. Yeah. Sandy has said, I always carry knitting in my travel paints and a sketchbook. I like to think I'm prepared for every extra teeny moment just for me. That's a really nice idea, Sandy. I like the idea of having a little sketchbook. And, you can get those gorgeous little paints, can't you? Travel paints. That's a really nice idea.
Yeah.
Rachel says hello, and Alison says...
That makes me think of, I just bought this yesterday, a little tiny book.
Is that a little Moleskine one?
Just to have all the time.
Yeah, I love those ones. I've got one of those, little blue one I have. Rachel says hello, and Alison says, it's a happy surprise to see you over my Sunday morning coffee. So, Alison, we won't be up every Sunday, but Marie's busy for a couple of weeks, so we thought we'd pop back really soon, and then we'll schedule in to come together and have more chats in a couple of weeks' time. And I'm going to see if anyone's said anything on... I can't see any comments on YouTube. So, that was really nice. I suppose we should probably give people warning when we go live, but at the moment we're just going to see if we can make it. We'll get over our technical glitches. They can catch up later. The batteries, the computer batteries dying, coffee spilling everywhere, just those things. Just life, man. Just
real life things.
Yeah. But thank you so much, everyone. Yeah, it does. And thank you so much, everyone, for tuning in. And you can catch this, if you're watching this later, then you can find us on YouTube and you can find us on Facebook. So don't forget, if you subscribe on both those channels, it'll let you know when we go live. So if your phone is handy and you hear a ding, you know it's us and we've popped back on again. We'll vary the times of day that we pop on, and the days of the week will probably vary, but and we're not sure when we'll be back next. Couple of weeks, probably say a couple of weeks, won't it? We'll pop back on and see you. But it's so lovely to spend time with you, and we'll see you next time. So bye everybody. See you later.
Bye.